Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm John, and welcome back to my channel, Musings of a Marine, where I've got something else to talk about today. I hope everybody's healthy out there and not suffering at all from this COVID-19 virus that's really messed up our world. But I'm back to work part-time at least, but a lot of people are not, and it's been very, very tough. So, what I want to talk about with everybody today is there's been a lot of discussions worldwide, obviously, about this whole virus. But really, what I want to focus on is some of the misconceptions that people may have who live in the Philippines about the United States and vice versa. Because the fact of the matter is you've got people living in this world who think they're experts on other countries, even though they've never been there. And unfortunately, we cannot count on our national news media, no matter where you live, to really give you the true, honest story about a lot of issues. And so I want to kind of clear some of that up today, if I might. And because unfortunately, I really had to set the record straight with one of my nieces over there, and I don't know if she appreciated it or not, but quite frankly, I figured her and her friends on Facebook she was discussing the matter with really needed to know the truth. And what it had amounted to was they got the misconception that the people here in the state of Michigan who were protesting at the state capitol about the quarantine from the virus basically should have just shut up and got home, because after all, the government was paying this $1,200 anyways. And they didn't know why the protest was taking place, because their news sources over there, particularly CNN, is full of crap half the time, if not most of the time. And as a result, they really didn't know why the protest started in the first place. And one other thing that I didn't mention to her, though, was us people in the United States who were taxpayers were given $1,200. Apparently, they didn't know over there. Well, $1,200 might be a lot of money in the Philippines. It's certainly not in the United States. That's about enough to pay the average mortgage for 1 month for someone who lives here. But this quarantine's been going on for 2.5 months. So now what are they supposed to do? Well, see, when my niece gave me the source of the information that she got all of this from, it was from time.com. And I mean to tell you, folks, Time Magazine, which obviously is where time.com comes from, they're not the most accurate source. The whole reason for the protest was not the quarantine itself so much as it was the stupid rules that went along with it. And I'll give you an example of one, that if you had a second home up north, you were not allowed to drive up to it, even though odds are you would be more quarantined up there in the rural areas than you would in your suburban home. However, if you lived out of state and you wanted to drive to the northern part of Michigan to your second home, you were allowed to do so. Now, does that make any sense to anybody? Okay, sounds pretty stupid to me, and that's what the protest was initially about. Not everybody followed the 6-foot rule. Not everybody wore masks, though outside I don't really see a strong necessity in that, at least not in the United States. But the article that my niece got a hold of to find out about this protest made no mention of the stupid rules that our governor had in place here in Michigan. And that's kind of what I want to discuss, and it leads up to this whole post here today on YouTube, and the whole reason I'm doing this video. If you don't live in a country, or you've never actually lived in that country at any time, don't act like you know what's going on over there. I've been to the Philippines 7 times, and I've learned a lot of things about the culture, and I've learned to appreciate a lot of things. Me being a Catholic, I'm glad that there is a strong Catholic influence in a lot of things in the Philippines. I'm glad abortion is illegal there because to me it's murder. And I wish it was illegal here in the United States too. But I don't pretend to be an expert on the Philippines. I have never lived there. I haven't seen any part of the Philippines beyond, maybe 6 or 7 particular designated areas, which hardly depicts the whole country. Okay, so usually if I'm going to have a question about the Philippines or why certain things are going the way they are, I'm going to defer to my wife because she's going to watch on ABS-CBN here in Michigan. We do get that, and we get the TV Patrol news. But of course, most of it is in Tagalog, which I don't understand. So my wife watches it, and if I have a question about something, I ask her because she understands it. She lived there. She was born there. And so I'm going to, refer to her when I'm trying to find out what's truly going on over there. And that's kind of the point there. There's a lot of misconceptions that Filipinos may have about the United States. Now, a lot of Filipinos are happy that they've been able to move to my country, and a lot of them have no intention of ever moving back to the Philippines. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. Number one, when you retire here, when you hit 65, you do get some health care from the government called Medicare. And also, if you are unable to work, you can, because of some accident, injury, what have you, you can get disability from the government and Medicaid to help with your medical costs. So these aren't things that you generally would get in a lot of other countries, but we have them here in the States. Our medical care here is second to none. And most employers offer a medical program if you work full time, so you do have that insurance. So yeah, there's a lot of great reasons to want to live in the United States, but there's a lot of good reasons to want to live in the Philippines too. Me living in Michigan, it is a 4-season climate. I don't like the 4 seasons. I wish it was summer here year-round, but unfortunately it's not. I was born and raised here, and this is the area I know, so this is where I work. But then I have no intention of retiring in the state of Michigan. And I would like it to be Iloilo, and I still go around and around with my wife Diana on that, that I would like it to be in her hometown because we have a house there. Obviously, the money goes a lot further over there. $1,200 a month? Yeah, we could live pretty comfortable in Iloilo. Here in the United States, you barely would even pay your house note if you have one. So that's a big, big difference there. I've mentioned before some things I like about the Philippines more. More morals. People go to church. People, in my opinion, tend to be more friendly over there, more hospitable. You go to a house in the Philippines and to visit, odds are that you're going to be given something to eat or drink. You come to visit somewhere in the United States for a short time to somebody's home, don't expect to be offered any such thing. So there's a trade-off there. Yeah, we have a lot of nice creature comforts here, and the majority of people who are adults have their own car to drive. So that is a very nice thing. But we also don't have a lot of public transportation in certain areas too. So we really don't have a choice in the matter. I can't go out to the road and hail down a jeepney or a tricycle here and pay a small amount to have them take me to work. It doesn't work that way here. In fact, unfortunately, in the Detroit area, our mass transit system is pretty lousy to begin with. Other than a few buses that run out here where I live, there's not a lot there. There's no subway, there's no streetcars, there's nothing like that. So you kind of have to have a car anyway. So, that's just one of the differences. Yeah, we can call taxis, but they're few and far between now. We have, Uber and Lyft and stuff like that. But they're not cheap. The taxi in Iloilo is much cheaper than it is here. So there's a lot of things that are all relative to where you live And it's not necessarily that living in one country is always so much greater than the other. And while a lot of Filipino people might feel that getting to the United States, getting to Canada, getting to England is a great goal, and in a lot of ways it is, so they can help provide for their family back home. But at the same time, when you come over to these countries, things aren't as laid back. You have to work, and sometimes you have to work very hard, and sometimes you have to work a lot of long hours. I can tell you this, a nurse here in the United States may very well have to work much harder perhaps than a nurse in the Philippines does and have more responsibility. So it's not easy, and people are bigger over here too. So if you're a slight of build Filipino nurse and you come to a Western country, you're going to have bigger, heavier, and sometimes flat out obese people that you're going to have to deal with. So the job doesn't get any easier over here. I guess what sets the United States above the Philippines in terms of security is the opportunities that we provide. But we have homeless people here. We have people that go hungry. There was a time when, I talked with my wife Diana before any of her family came over here, and I used to mention to her I'd like to take them down to the Lower East Side of Detroit. And she said, "Why would you want to do that?" And I said, "So they can see that not everybody in this country has it so good, because that is the poorest section of Detroit. And there's a lot of houses that are burned out and boarded up, and drug use runs rampant. Whatever you feel about the president of the Philippines, Duterte, and how he's handling the drug crisis, I tell you, I don't agree with how he handles it, because I think he's killing a lot of people before they get a chance to defend themselves in court. But at the same time, there's a lot of cleaning up that could be done in the city of Detroit, in any big city in the United States for that matter, when it comes to cleaning up the drug use and the gangs and all of that. So in that respect, maybe we could use a Rodrigo Duterte over here and as mayor of Detroit or something. But anyways, there's people who go hungry here, who live in shacks that aren't even as nice as a lot of the homes in the Philippines. And so it's not perfect over here either. And things are much more expensive over here. The cost of living is higher in every aspect. So you have to take that into consideration, and you have to work hard if you want to have the nice things, and at the same time have the ability to fill up those big Balikbayan boxes and to send money back home. You have to go out and you have to work hard for it. I'm just blessed that I have the opportunity to do so. So my wife Diana, she was able to help her family out a lot of ways, and we still are able to do so at this time. But I caution people who live in other countries to pass judgment on the United States and vice versa. If you haven't lived there, if you haven't seen what it's really like, then you really don't know what it's really like. Okay? A friend of my wife's, last time we were over there, made a comment about, that we have it easy in the United States. I didn't say anything, but my wife kind of chastised her about that. What are you talking about? We work our tails off over here sometimes to have the things that we have. So you could take the good with the bad, and there's just a lot of things. The culture of the Philippines, a lot of it I like better than over here. And so money isn't everything, and material goods isn't everything, especially if you're dealing with a lot of people who act very immoral, who, just don't treat people the way they're typically treated in the Philippines. And so, what do you want out of life? Okay, uh, it's not where you walk down the street here where I live and you're related or friends with half the people in your neighborhood. And here in the States, a lot of people don't even talk to their neighbors. I see how close families are in the Philippines, and that's why Diana remarked to me that I'm closer with her family than my own, or seem to have more fun with them than my own. Yeah, that's true. Families here in the United States aren't as close, and unfortunately, a lot of family members don't even look out for their fellow family members. Give them money or lend them money when they need a helping hand, because we have a tendency to, be a little bit more hoarding of our own money because we feel here in the States, hey, the opportunity is there for you to take care of yourself. Why are you bugging me, to help you out? And in the Philippines, we understand that, when someone makes it good and is able to leave the country and immigrate to a Western country or, the Middle East and make some money, it's typical, hey, we're going to send money back home to help out the family, to help little Pedro go through college or whatever. Whereas that's not necessarily going to be the case here. That is a value that my wife has really taught me, and I've been able to help my family out financially at times because of it. And I'm really, really glad that she's instilled that ethic in me. So I just want to clear some of that up. All right. Yeah, living in the States is great, but living in the Philippines can be pretty great too. And I'll tell you what, when you have the love of your family and you have them looking out for you and you're right with the Lord, I think that's a lot more important than whether you have a car or not, or what kind of car you drive, or how big your house is, or how many TVs you have, or anything like that. Because in the end, we're all going to die and we can't take any of this stuff with us. So keep that in mind. But what we can control is where we end up when that final day comes. So just wanted to mention that to everybody. A little bit more serious video today, but I just wanted to put it out there because I think people need to understand that no matter where you live in this world, sometimes life is still what you make of it. So take care, everybody. Semper Fi, God bless, and stay healthy. Do what's necessary to keep yourself out of harm's way.